I would like us to watch this video till the end. I will appreciate this very much if you watch to the end because there are things I want to talk on this video. But first, I believe you must know this brother. I believe he's one of Matthias Ezako's followers because I've seen him on a video with Matthias and what he's talking about. These are the same thing that Matthias Ezak is campaigning for and is campaigning against. So that's why I say I believe he's one of his followers. So there is a video he dropped. Though I've seen this video before, but I didn't actually wanted to talk on this video because I wouldn't want it to be any video he drops. I'm always talking about this video, so I select the things I talk about. But he has spoke. He dropped this video. Things he talked about on this video, basically how the earth came into existence and how human came into existence, and then he dropped another video and he repeated the sentence. It was a second video that prompted me to talk about these things, based on their campaign, what they are campaigning for, what they are campaigning against. So these things does not actually relate to what they are campaigning for. So that is why it prompted me to make uh, this video. So that is why I said we appreciate if you watch it to the end because I want people to understand things clearly and the way it should be understood, so that we have the option to make a better choice. So it will not be that we are following people blindly without understanding things from different perspective and different points of view. So, but before I say anything, I would like us to watch the video and then I will come back to say what I need to say and what you need to hear from me. Let's watch the video.
This was exactly how the Earth was formed 4.6 billion years ago. Our planet was formed when gravity brought rocks together. But at this time, the Earth was so hot, there was no hard surface. Just vast expanses of molten rocks with temperature exceeding 1,200 degrees centigrade. About 4.5 billion years ago, a planet called Theia, THEA, hit the Earth at a speed of 15 kilometers per second. And the shock wave that was created spread rapidly, spewing huge amount of debris in the space, and eventually it formed our moon. And as a result of this violent collision, the Earth's speed of rotation became so fast that it only lasted 6 hours a day. And as the moon tidal forces began to reduce the speed of the Earth rotation, and the magma on the Earth eventually cooled. 4 billion years ago, a comet, COMET, with water hit the Earth again. And as a result of this explosion, the Earth was hit by a 3 million year rainstorm. And since then, the Earth has become a blue ocean planet. About 3.7 billion years ago, the first single-celled life began to exist, called the Cetobacteria, which learned how to photosynthesize. And they went into a massive evolution of reproduction.
Okay, this was the first video I saw. Like I said, this video is an old video. Not this video, I believe, few months back. Now it was this second video that prompted me to do this. Let's watch the second video.
Whenever a child starts coming up at age 8 to 12 years, the child begins to ask some inquisitive questions to understand the concept or the basis of nature formation. For instance, the child begins to ask his parents, he says, "Why is the sky blue?" A small boy asking his father, he says, "Daddy, why is the sky blue?" He wants to understand the concept of the nature. And then if this child is a white person, the parents begin to provide detailed theories of what makes the sky to become blue. But when an African child asks his mother, says, "Mommy, why is the sky blue?" The African mother tells the child, he says, "God made the sky to be blue. God made it so." And so an African child looks to the parents, he says, "Mommy, how did the plant grow? This plant will plant inside the ground. How does this thing grow?" A white man will begin to answer his son, he says, "This plant grows by drawing photosynthesis on the earth," and all of that theories. An African parent tells the child, he says, "God is what is making the plant to grow." So the child is inquisitive. He's trying to understand nature because he's just trying to understand the concept of the theory of how he came to existence. And so the child looks at his mother and says, "Mommy, how did the human being come to exist?" A white man will, in data analysis, explain the theory of the evolution of man from Homo sapiens to current humanity. And African parents will tell the child that God created human being from floor. So every time the child is trying to understand the concept.
Okay, this second video, Yes, of course, when kids get to some certain age, because they become very curious and ask questions. So the place that got me was the part that he said when children ask their parents and how we came into existence. In African parents, we say we are being created by God. God made us, while the white parents will now take their time to explain to their kids the evolution of human. So on the first video, he spoke about how the earth came into existence. The rock, gravity put rocks together at some certain temperature. Planets struck the earth, which it exploded and formed the moon, and things like that. So this does not actually relate to what they are campaigning for, which is for us to go back to our tradition, to our traditional roots, to our culture, and to our traditional beliefs. This does not relate. I don't see how this thing concerns what they are campaigning for. He is only just doing this to disprove the Bible. Like he always said that the Bible is bunch of nonsense. He's just doing this to disprove the Bible. But actually, what he is actually doing is just to show how ignorance he is. He is. Now, this is just an ignorance. Why did I say so? Now, if he is talking about how the earth came into existence, now let's talk about that. If he talks about the rock, now the rock is talking about where did the rocks came from. I believe that in in existence of things, there has never been any time they say something just appears from nowhere without something causing it to appear. So if the rock were there, excuse me, something must has caused these rocks to be there. Excuse me. Something must have caused these rocks to be there. So the cross they did not appear from nowhere. So this question is where those the rocks is talking about, where did these rocks come from? Now, secondly, he said a planet struck the earth after the earth has formed at a certain temperature. Another planet struck the earth, which it exploded and then formed the moon, and then this is how the earth began to rotate around the sun. So the planet that struck the earth, where did the planet come from? Did it just appear out of nowhere? Now, another thing, he said there was a comet that struck the earth, which caused a million years of rainstorm, which I believe that comet must have a pocket of water in it. Then when it struck the earth, then that pocket of water broke, which came down as rain. And to him, he said this rain formed the ocean, and that is why the ocean. I don't believe the ocean is actually blue. The water, as we know, water is colorless. Like they say, it is the sky that actually makes the ocean blue. This is because if there is a lake that is called Rainbow Lake, I've forgotten where that lake is. There is so many colors in the water. So the lake took the color of this thing. They are algae. They are inside the water. They are algae. They have different colors. So the water takes color of anything that is within its environment, like the Orange River, anything that is within its environment. So where the comet, where did it come from? And the water that was in that comet, where did it originate from? What formed the water inside that comet? You see, these things he cannot even answer. The things he's talking about, he does not know anything about it. He cannot explain it. He just wants to disprove the Bible. He just wants to prove that the Bible is bunch of nonsense. He's trying to use this thing to prove that the Bible is, like I said, it does not relate to what they are campaigning for. Now he goes on about how how a bacteria started photosynthesizing to produce oxygen. Now, from what I know about biological forms, biological object, biological matter, now anything biological is something that has a DNA. Like human, we are we are biological matters. No, for any biological matter to exist, there must be another biological matter, another biological form or object in play. Human can't just exist out of nowhere. Like little children, they have to come from another human. So for any biological form to exist, there has to be another biological form in play for another biological form to. So that bacteria that started photosynthesizing which produce this oxygen that filled the atmosphere. Where did that bacteria come from? What produced it? According to what I read, the bacteria was an algae. You know, if it is a bacteria, it means it has a DNA because a bacteria is a biological matter. Bacteria, viruses, fungi, all this they has a DNA. These things they are living organisms. They has a DNA. So where does it come from? What produced that bacteria that started photosynthesizing to produce oxygen? Even from what I know about photosynthesis, there must be a CO2 for photosynthesis to take place. So I don't know if there was any CO2, or I don't know if those bacteria if they actually require CO2 for them to produce photosynthesis. Because I know CO2 is not in water. From what I read, that bacteria was inside the water. So there was no CO2 in the water. So where did they, like I said, I don't know if they require the CO2, but where did this bacteria come from? Where did it originate from? Water is not biological matter, so it cannot produce any biological form. Rock is not a biological matter, so it cannot produce any biological form. Because from what he said, these are the only two things that was on Earth, then rocks and water, before this bacteria came into being and started producing oxygen. And then he went to Cambrian explosion. You know, this Cambrian explosion is actually the process at which biological forms started appearing. Just out of nowhere, there were so many biological forms inside. This was inside the water. So he said the Cambrian explosion was how plants and animals came into existence. It's not actually how plants are. It was how um, living living forms that moves around like fishes and all of that. This was how they come into existence during Cambrian explosion. They just appeared from there. So many of them swarming the water. They just appeared from nowhere. So they theorize that this is they just call it a Cambrian explosion. So according to what I learned, it was from this Cambrian explosion that what evolved into what we are today, into human, was among what appeared during this Cambrian explosion period. So what happened? How did this Cambrian explosion come to play? I believe he has no explanation about that. He can't explain it. You know, all these things are theses, they are hypotheses, they are theories, they are assumptions that they cannot be proven. Even if you go if you do your research, the scientists that are always talking about this, they always say we believed. There is a thesis, there is a hypothesis, there is an assumption. This is why it's called a theory, evolution theory, Big Bang theory, because there is nothing to prove that these things actually took place. There's nothing to prove. There's nothing to prove. So the main reason I'm talking about this is this. They want us to go back to our traditional roots. Now, if you are talking about our traditional roots, before religion took precedence, like Christianity, Islam, Shinto, Buddhism, Judaism, Hinduism, all of these religion, before they came into precedence, I believe every culture of then, of the old civilization, have some sort of belief system. They have some sort of belief system which they believe in one god or the other. They believe in one divinity or in one deity. And in their own belief, they believe that this god, this divinity, or this deity eh, is the one that is responsible for their existence. So I believe likewise our ancestors and our forefathers, they believe that their god is responsible for their existence. So why is he not, since he wants us to go back to our tradition and our culture, why is he not looking on the beliefs system of our ancestors and our forefathers, what they believed in, how we came into existence? You know, like he said that Bible is bunch of, he's trying to use another heap of nonsense to disprove a bunch of nonsense as he called the Bible. Now this is, I see it as a heap of, because there is no there's nothing to prove that this is actually what took place. That is why it is called theory. I said if you go to Google, it is a verifiable fact. They don't deal with emotion. They do with logic and fact. This thing is not fact and is not logical because everything that has no source is not reliable. Every information that has no source is not a reliable information. So these theories has no source, so it cannot be relied on. It is not a verifiable fact because it's on Google. It does not mean it's something that is a verifiable fact. Is something that has a concrete evidence to prove. That is what is verifiable fact. So there's no concrete evidence to prove. So if they want us to go back to our tradition and to our culture, they should talk on the belief system of our forefathers, what they believed in, how it came to be on this planet. And that is, they should talk about that. That is the one we want to hear. That is the one we want to believe in. They say that the Bible is the concoction of the white men. This thing he's talking about is another concussion of the white men. So why would he believe in the concussion? Because this thing is believed. He is believing in it because he cannot prove it. So anything you believe in is something you cannot prove. That is why the Christians they believe in the Bible, because even the Bible is still a theory on its own. A theory on how he came into existence and how the word came into existence. It's still a theory on its own. That is why the Christians they believe in this theory because they cannot prove it. So he cannot prove his own theory, and the Christians cannot prove their own theory. But he believes in his own theory, and the Christians believe in their own theory. But he's telling the Christians that their own theory is a bunch of nonsense, while his own theory is a verifiable fact. How can we verify his own theory? It is not a verifiable fact. So, like I'm saying, they should tell us the beliefs of our forefathers. What's the believing on how we came into existence? Maybe that we will listen to, and maybe that we will adopt. This is telling us is another white man concoction. So this my brother, he's more of tilting towards the atheism, and he is talking about his believing in our traditional culture because this is the belief system of the atheists. They believe that things just appeared out of nowhere. Nothing, there's no God that created anything. Even some people even believe that there is in the cosmos there is an intelligent life somewhere that is responsible for our existence here on earth. Just like the Christians believe there is something responsible for us. So some people believe there is an intelligent life somewhere that is responsible for existence. So they don't believe it's a God. They just believe it's an intelligent life. So these two theories is what I can go with, that of intelligent life and that of a God, because you can't tell me that something can just exist out of nowhere. It is not possible. It is not possible. Even if you look at it, even the Bible at least, I will say, answered at least 30% of our questions based on how human came into existence. At least I will say 30%. Then the rest 70% is a question that the Bible cannot answer. Even the Bible cannot answer some. Even how the Bible explain how we came into it. There are some questions in that explanation that we cannot find answers to. We cannot find answers to. So this his theory, there is no way. Even the explanation itself is not even uh, cannot even be believed in. It's not coherent enough for people to accept it. Personally, me, I do not accept it. So if they want us to go back to our culture and our tradition, they should talk more on the belief system of our forefathers, not trying to use another white man's concussion to disprove another white man's concussion. It does not work that way. It does not work that way. So this is why I wanted to make this video, because I want us to understand, to see how these things are, because to see how these things cannot be explained or be verified, and then they want us to believe in it, and then to show you that this thing is not the belief of our forefathers and our ancestors. It is not their belief. So we cannot believe in things that we know that our forefathers do not believe in. It is not possible. It is still another white man's concussion. So they should make research and tell us about because this is what they want us to believe in. This is what they want us to do. So they should make research and tell us about these things that our forefathers believe in. and then we might believe in those things. But this theory he's talking about, it cannot be accepted because these things is not a verifiable fact. We cannot accept this one. We cannot. This is why I said we are actually going backward. Now he wants us to become atheists than rather than go back to our traditional roots. He wants us to become atheists. This is why I said this way they're actually dragging us. But if you listen to it, you understand that this people they are more of ignorant to what they are. They don't really understand what they are. They're more of ignorant to what they are doing that than how they want to they want us to believe in it. Because you can't tell me this guy is not because if not if this is not ignorance, he cannot want us to believe in something that cannot be proven, or in something that our forefathers do not believe in or do not even know. So this is a show of ignorance. Him speaking so many. I know this guy. There's lots of energy. He's speaking so many big grammars and big English. It's not only to speak big grammar. Can you comprehend what you are talking about? Can you comprehend what you are talking about? I'm not saying we should throw away our culture. I love my culture. I love my tradition. China is still keeping their culture. Japan is still keeping their culture. Indonesia, most of all these countries are still keeping their culture. So I'm not saying no reason why we should throw our own away. But them making it to be as though once we embrace our culture, our tradition, all things will just become all right for us. They are making it as though it is the religion or it is Europeans that have left us in poverty and underdeveloped. This is how they are pushing it to look. But this is not what has kept us where we are. The ones that has kept us where we are. We have to deal with that and then look for a way to better our life. But if they keep on going about these things, I don't see how this thing will give us any development here in Nigeria, in Africa. It will not. It will not. So this is why I said I'm against this their campaign. I'm not against my culture and tradition, but rather I'm against their campaign of telling us that the Europeans did this, the European did that. Why would you throw away our culture and tradition and then believe in that of Europeans? We should go back to our culture and tradition, and they forget the problem we have at hand. They forget the problems that we are facing. Look at the economy today. People are so hungry that in no time now the crime rate in Nigeria will exponentially grow, and nobody will be safe. And someone is telling me our problem is the European and religion. How are those things our problem?